AskReddit by Karen the Manager. What was great advice 20 years ago, but definitely isn't now. In high school, as part of one of my classes, they brought in a lady who worked HR for some recruiting firm for a few days to teach us how to do resumes and cover letters and such, and she told us even if a place has an option to apply online, always go in person and pick up an application. No one takes online applications seriously. I was actually told this by a seasoned, experienced older employee around 2011 or so while working a temporary position and seeking to apply for a permanent one, which by the way included the possibility of a pension. I carefully filled out a thick application stack by hand and delivered it personally to HR. Turns out that due to some recently added rule, I was not eligible unless I went through the online application process, and no one told me until it was too late. It was probably better for my mental health in the long run to leave that job rather than feeling like I had to stay for the benefits, but the whole experience really soured me on trusting anyone's advice on anything ever. Always verify from the relevant source. My dad told me once, "Son, you shouldn't schedule a single vacation day the first year of your job. It shows you're committed." I straight up told them I had a holiday booked 6 months down the line, and if that's cool. They were like, "Sure, tell me a month beforehand." Worked pretty well. By Yahoo Stock. Don't forget to print out your directions from MapQuest before you leave. Though, it still makes sense, download maps before you set out. You need to memorize this cause you won't have the info accessible later. The most important skill isn't knowing the right answer, it's knowing how to find out the right answer. And that's gotten much easier. Generic dating advice. People always wonder how some people get to be so creepy, but they forgot that they've been brought up by a generation who thought the best way to get a woman was aggressive flirting techniques, actual stalking, and being overly possessive. Getting a diploma will secure your life. You're searching for a soulmate on the internet? Lord, you must be insane. Met my wife on the internet about 12 years ago, and everyone thought I was making her up until we could afford to fly her out here. Then it was, "She's probably scamming you." If she's a scam, best one I ever got caught up in. Buy that house. Sure, it seems weird that you qualified for such a high home loan, but I'm sure they wouldn't offer it to you if you couldn't afford it. Deleted. To this day, my mom believes the way to apply for any job is to walk in and hand your future boss your paper resume, whether or not they're actively hiring. She's not even 60 yet, but calls anyone who applies online a lazy piece of shit, and she doesn't believe I have an actual job because I work from home. She just hates computers. Edit. I guess some people like sorting by new. LMAO. I don't live anywhere near my mom. We don't get along, but if we did live close, she would absolutely assume I'm available all day long. No, I don't know why she hates technology. She thinks it's all a scam. She's the person that would call it support asking where the any key is. My job is entirely tech-based, and we only meet in person to run inventory quarterly, but she's 1000% under the assumption I work in a diner because that's the family legacy, I guess. Or maybe because I just love diners, so she assumes I work there? I'm uncertain. My dad used to think this, then I applied for his job and showed him all the steps. All he had to do was show up on time and promise not to be a terrorist. Didn't even need a suit. The application I took was about 6 pages of writing, a long waiting list, multiple interviews, and a 6-month application ban if they do not say yes. Deleted. Deleted. Get an arm loan on your house. Values go up like 10-20% each year, and by the time the load adjusts, flip that house for a sweet profit. I'm so glad I got a fixed rate mortgage. Yeah, a 5.5% interest rate kinda sucks compared to the sub 3% rate I could have got with a NUM at the time, but at least I know my payment will be the same forever. Well, At least until 2032 anyway. When you dial collect on the payphone, just say where you are, what time you need a ride, then hang up as not to get charged. Bob we had a baby eats a boy. I remember when my dad told me as a teenager to never be the one to pursue a guy, because I'm a woman. Maybe that was to keep me safe in my youth, but I've since come to realize that most of the dudes who are worth being with are either shy or oblivious, and I have no choice but to make the first move. I'm going to admit I'm absolutely terrible at distinguishing if a woman is just being friendly with me or is actually into me, and I think it's the same for a lot of guys. I generally assume a woman is just being friendly, as I'd rather be wrong about that than potentially creep a woman out who's only being nice. So I really appreciate when women make the first move. Walk in, ask for the manager and give a firm handshake. That's how you get the job. These days, you can walk in, ask for the manager and he'll direct you to apply online. Then you won't get any response, or you'll get one 6 months later when HR turns over and the new guy gets around to denying everyone who applied. I once had a place call me almost 2 years after applying if I could come in for an interview. I was ready to answer this until I realized 20 years ago was 2002 and not 1992. If Smashing Pumpkins released 1979 today, it'd be called 2006. Spending whole day on the internet would never make you successful in life. Said my dad, you can't spend the whole day staring at your computer screen. Nobody is going to pay you to do that. Be loyal to your employer, because they will be loyal to you. I have no idea why this one stuck around so long. You would think from looking at the cataclysm that is much of the company towns in the Rust Belt this was obviously not true. Never meet someone from the internet. Everyone needs a college degree. Trade school is absolutely the way to go for some people, myself included. And I did both. Deleted. 20 years ago. Don't meet up with people you met on the internet and don't get in cars with strangers. Today, get into the car with a stranger that you've summoned to your house using the internet. The first time I met my Ingress team, like Pokemon Go, but competitive capture the flag, I was in a graveyard farming gear and got a message in app saying get in the grey van, and, without thinking, I hopped in this grey van that came up behind me. If you ever travel back in time, don't touch anything. Yeah, if I went back in time right now I'd touch and sneeze on all sorts of things. Lol, I want a mulligan on this timeline. Stay away from the guy walking down the street having a full conversation with nobody. Now it's just AirPods. I would still stay away from them. Get into teaching. You get summers off and good benefits. If you want a job, just walk into the place. As someone who does a bit of hiring, I don't even want to do the first interview in person, let alone have you just show up. You can rest when you are dead. In my opinion, the grind culture is harmful and leads to a lot of physical and mental illness. Stress-induced illnesses have never been as bad as it is right now. Burnouts have never been as high as they are now. Mental health is plummeting. I understand that in some countries you have no choice but to grind to survive, but in developed countries I do not think society should encourage that mentality. Stress is a disease and this society is sick. I'm not from the US, and it's crazy to me how expensive the basic securities are over there. Housing, healthcare, education, commuting, all priced at premium and beyond. No wonder the people there have work as their main hobby. You won't always have a calculator in your pocket. The irony is even in the 80s, there were cheap calculator watches. See Marty McFly BTTF. Teachers have always been wrong about that. Till most people forget 20 years ago was 2002 and not 1982. A lot of the points raised were not true 20 years ago. Edit, awards. Thank you, kind people. You didn't have to personally attack like that. Cut out fats from your diet because they make you fat. Just go to the mall and hand out your resume. Did this in 2013 with 0 results.